Welcome to episode 10 of Wrestle Erotica. This week we have another two stories featuring the best in wrestling erotica. The first story is entitled Seduced on the Beach, and it stars Scarlett Bordeaux and Maria. Story number 2 is called Getting to Know You, and it stars AJ Lee and Paige. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get to this week's stories. This week's episode is called Seduced on the Beach, and it stars Scarlett Bordeaux and Maria Kanellis, and it is written by Omega 5150. Such a nice, sunny day. Perfect day off. The words of Scarlett Bordeaux, known to most people as the perfect 10 of Ring of Honor Wrestling. Today was her day off, and Scarlett had drove to a place that she loved to go. A place that was quite hidden, as it took a bit of off-road driving through the woods to get there. But now she had got there and parked her car. It was a beautiful place, although, as she got out of her car, she noticed it wasn't the only one there, which was unusual, as she was normally always the only person to visit this private beach she had come to. I guess there's either someone else here today, or someone left their car here. Doesn't really bother me either way. Scarlett said to herself as she put on a hat, put her towel over her shoulder, and stepped onto the beach itself, smiled, and started to walk down it. Slowly, Scarlett was wearing her black lace lingerie today, having changed out of her regular clothing whilst in the car earlier, and as she walked, looking for her favorite spot, she stared out into the distance, looking at the sun in the sky, sighing happily. I rarely get days off anymore, but I guess that's the curse of being such a damn perfect woman like me. I mean, look at me. My hair is perfect, my face is divine, my boobs and ass drive all the men crazy. Men want to be with me and women want to be me, so they get their men to like them, heh? I really am the perfect 10, in every sense of the word.
I give it a 10!
Of course, Scarlett had a huge ego, especially for a woman as young as she was. She was only 23 years old, and she was already perfect. At least in her eyes, she was perfect. Though, she figured that most people would agree with her that when she said she was perfect. I mean, come on! So many people want to do photo shoots with me. They want me to do videos for their companies. They want me to advertise their products in skimpy little bikinis and model their lingerie for them. If I'm not the perfect 10,
a 10!
Then I don't know who is. But I'll be damned if it's not me, because I know it's me. Hell, if I wasn't me, I'd date me. As Scarlett kept walking down the private beach, looking for her favorite spot, her mind began to wander to other things, namely some of her friends that she had not seen in a while. One of her most favorite friends, Maria, was at the front of her mind today for various reasons. I've not seen Rhea in ages. Sure, we're both working for Ring of Honor, but she's hardly ever at the TV tapings anymore. She's mainly used at the iPay-per-views now. I hate it that she's with that ass Michael Bennett. He does not deserve such a beautiful woman like Maria. No, he does not. She's far too perfect for a guy like him. However, if she was with a girl like me, well, that'd be a different story altogether. Ever since the day Maria Kanellis arrived in Ring of Honor, Scarlett and Maria were the best of friends, and on the day they met, Scarlett instantly found herself crushing on Maria, though she did her best to conceal it. As she didn't want Maria to freak out or stop being her friend, Scarlett loved being around Maria, and Scarlett also loved having dreams about all the things she'd love to do to Maria if she ever got the chance to be alone with her one day. One of these days, I'll get the chance to be alone with her. I don't care if it's in a locker room, her house, or my place. I'm going to show her how much I love her one of these days. I can promise that. I can also promise that she'll be so in love with me when I've had my way with her. She'll be my obedient little lover, and will do what I say. Because nobody can resist my body. Nobody can resist, nor can they say no to the perfect 10.
A fucking 10!
Scarlett was getting close to her favorite spot. She knew she was. It normally didn't take her that long to find it. It was the most out-of-the-way spot on this private, hidden-from-view beach, and she knew that when she got there, she was going to have a peaceful, relaxing day. One where she forgot for just one day all of the stressful things about her life. Let it all just flow away, and fantasize about the woman she was crushing on, Maria. God, I wish Maria was here with me on this beach. Oh, the things I'd do to her, and that body of hers. I mean, fuck. The amount of times I've climaxed using my toy on myself, looking at her Playboy pictures. Jeez, talk about wanting a woman so badly you'd do anything to make her yours, and I would do anything to make her mine, if only she wait. No, it can't be her! As Scarlett rounded a bit of the corner on the beach and walked past some trees which separated from the rest of the private beach, her favorite spot, she saw the most beautiful sight her eyes had ever laying there, nude. Her body glistening in the sun, was the woman Scarlett had been lusting after for the longest time, the beautiful, captivating, delicious Maria Kanellis.
Here she comes again, like good medicine.
Scarlett pinched herself to make sure she wasn't dreaming, or delirious from the heat. Ouch! I'm definitely not dreaming then. I think she's resting. Her eyes seem like they're closed. She's not heard me yet. Maybe if I go over there quickly, I can finally have her to myself. There's nobody else around here. That car must have been hers back there. I wonder how she knew about this place. Ah, well, that doesn't matter. It's time to finally get what I've wanted for so long now. Maria, you're mine. Scarlett quickly walked over towards Maria, and once she was finally standing right by the woman of her dreams, she licked her lips as she thought to herself whilst taking off her bra. Maria, I've wanted you for so long, and now, this perfect 10 is finally being rewarded for being so perfect with the prize of a lifetime. I'm finally getting you all to myself, and there's no way I'm leaving this beach today without you in my car as my lover, as my property. I'm going to not only make you love me, I'm going to make you realize that Mike Bennett was never the right person for you. The only right person for you is me. Scarlett had not only removed her bra, exposing her delicious-looking, firm tits, she'd also removed her thong, exposing her pussy. She let her bra and thong drop to the ground by Maria's back, then greatly straddled Maria, sighing happily and lustfully as she finally felt their pussies touching. I'm grinding. She put her hands on Maria's perfect, big, firm tits, then, in a whispering tone, said into Maria's ear, I love you, Maria, and now I'm going to show you why you should love me as well. Scarlett planted her lips on Maria's and started gently making out with her, and as she did, well, as playing with Maria's tits, massaging her nipples with her thumbs and slowly starting to grind their pussies together. Maria's eyes started to slowly open as she felt the pleasure in the kiss, and as she saw Scarlett, all she could think about at that moment was how good she was feeling right now, and how lost in the moment. Oh, Scarlett, I knew you like it, Maria. Scarlett smirked inside of her mind. Already Maria was liking it, and she could feel it as Maria's pussy was getting wet, as was her own. Maria was also bucking her hips as Scarlett grinded their pussies together, a sign that Maria was very much into Scarlett making love to her. Plus, Maria's moans and groans and purrs of pleasure were also not only turning Scarlett on more and more, but also letting her know she didn't have to work that much harder to own Maria, mind, body, and soul. Ria, you're getting, very wet. You're loving, me making love to you. Can tell. It's so good. So good, Scarlett. I never thought being made love to by a woman would, feel so right. And, so good. So perfect. Almost makes me, want to leave Mike and give myself to you. Hearing those words from Maria turned Scarlett on even more. She truly was the perfect 10. It didn't take her that long at all to make Maria so horny and fall in love with her so fast that Maria was willing to leave Mike for her. Scarlett, getting hornier from both of their pussies getting wetter, and feeling Maria's nipples grow hard from her having continually rubbed them, decided now was the time to make Maria hers forever. Then, give yourself to me. Relinquish control over yourself, and give me full control of you, mind, body, and soul. Let me make you my perfect lover. I'll pleasure you every single day, unlike Mike, who can't do what I can. Say yes. Give into the perfect 10, Maria. You know, you can't resist me. I know you can't. Yes. I'm yours now, mind, body, and soul. I want to be pleasured exactly like this. Every single day. It'd be so good. Make me your Scarlett. Make me your sex slave. Your fuck toy. I want to be fucked like a dirty little slut. By the perfect 10. Exactly the words. I wanted to hear. My beautiful fuck toy. Scarlett smirked. Maria was finally hers. Maria had given herself to Scarlett. Scarlett knew Maria was going to be her property sooner or later, but she didn't know it'd be on her day off. This just made it all the more perfect. Not only had she stolen Maria from Mike Bennett, but she'd just taken control of Maria. She'd made Maria fall for her so hard that Maria, lost in complete lust for the beautiful, young, perfect 10, had given control over herself to Scarlett. And now, Scarlett was going to use that to her full advantage. As both women's pussies grew wetter, they both grew even hornier, their moans and groans of absolute lustful pleasures.
Oh, God.
Spurring Scarlett on to do something she'd wanted to do for a long, long time to Maria. Fuck! Now you're mine, Maria. I'm going to go to town on these tits of yours. Fuck yes.
I love your tits.
I can't wait to suck on them. Your nipples are ready, oh so hard in anticipation. Please do. I long to feel you sucking on my slutty huge tits. Oh God. Fuck yes. Maria was getting extremely horny as Scarlett had started going back and forth on her huge tits, sucking on them hungrily like her life depended on it, while still grinding their ever wetter pussies together, causing Maria to moan and groan more and more. Both women were getting to the point of pure bliss right now, and Scarlett could barely talk. She was far too into sucking on Maria's tits at this point, which were perfect to Scarlett. Fuck. So fucking goddamn tasty. Oh god, yes. They're growing bigger. They're full of milk.
Milk! It does the body good!
Scarlett was amazed, but also very happy as Maria's already big tits had suddenly began growing even bigger. They had grown to the size of Trish Stratus' huge tits back in her blonde bimbo days when she debuted in the WWE, and they were full of delicious milk. Scarlett, almost in a trance-like state, grabbed both huge, milk-filled tits and began milking Maria, squeezing them both back and forth, drinking the milk down hungrily, not stopping. It was intoxicating to Scarlett. It was tasty, perfect, and it belonged to her and her alone. Yes, Maria, your breast milk. Oh, fuck yes. It belongs to me, just like you belong to me. Oh, God. Yes, I fucking love breast milk. God, I'm such a milk slut. Oh, God. Fuck. I'm so damn, horny, Scarlett. I'm so glad you love my milk. I'm glad I can make my owner happy. Both Scarlett and Maria were in a lustful, blissful frenzy right now at this point. Scarlett, being spurred on in her trance-like state, getting wetter and wetter and closer to climaxing, just like Maria, from the continued pussy grinding. Scarlett was also drinking so much breast milk from Maria's huge milk-filled tits that it was beginning to fall down her body as it was spilling out of her mouth. The lust in Scarlett's eyes showed that she was completely taken away by her lust for Maria, who was fully under Scarlett's control by this point. And also, extremely filled with lust, the younger woman having made Maria become her personal fuck toy, her lover, her property, and Maria was more than happy with being all of those things. I'm so goddamn fucking horny, Maria. All of this delicious milk and our wet pussies grinding over and over is gonna make me fucking come. Oh my god! I'm so fucking close. So am I, Scarlett. Oh god. Let's come together. Oh fucking god. Both Maria and Scarlett were at the point of blissful climax, and both women indeed climaxed very hard together, shouting each other's names, which echoed on the private, quiet beach. Maria! Scarlett! Both Maria and Scarlett were exhausted. Scarlett smiling happily as Maria wrapped her legs around Scarlett's waist, and they both wrapped their arms around one another. The two stared lovingly and lustfully into one another's eyes as Scarlett said, Maria, I've been dreaming of this for so long. The day that I could finally say that you belong to me, that you are mine, forever and now, that it's finally here. I'm so happy that words can't describe just how much this means to me now, that you're mine. I'm going to show you how much I love you each and every single day. I promise you that my first lady, my lover, my everything, you're so perfect to me, I will never, ever stop loving you. And I will never stop loving you either, Scarlett. You showed me the light today. You showed me the truth. That I was never going to be truly happy with a man. My destiny was always to belong to you. To be yours. To be your everything. Just like I'm your first lady. You're my first lady. But you're more than that. You're my perfect 10. And I know that you're going to treat me right. I will, my first lady. I always will. I love you. And with those words from Scarlett, the two lovers kissed blissfully, and both other lives were forever changed for the better. Scarlett finally had the woman she loved all to herself, and Maria was fully under Scarlett's control. In the weeks, months, and years to follow, the relationship only blossomed and bloomed. Scarlett fucking Maria every single day, and becoming more and more addicted to her huge tits and her breast milk. Scarlett was so addicted, she purchased a machine to milk Maria's huge tits, so she could drink her milk whenever she was on the road. As for Maria, well, Maria became sex-crazed and was always horny, which suited Scarlett just fine. Maria spent most of her time on her back in Scarlett's bed at their new home, being fucked in various ways by Scarlett. Maria also did indeed dump Mike Bennett, who promptly moved on to Mandy Leon, though he never truly recovered from the heartbreak. But neither Maria nor Scarlett truly cared, because they were in love, and that was all that mattered to them in the end. The end. This story is entitled Getting to Know You, and it is written by Archive of Our Own user, Goth Kitty. Chapter 1. AJ Lee was pissed off. Really pissed off. She had just had to drop the Divas title to Paige, and she wasn't the least bit happy about it. While she had nothing against the other woman, she deserved her big break. AJ was more angry at the creative department and the bosses. If they had built up a feud, then had her drop the title, AJ wouldn't have minded. But no, they wanted to have Paige just waltz into the company and win the title just like that on her first night. AJ looked at herself in the mirror in the woman's changing room, then sighed. Standing there sulking wasn't going to get her showered or dressed. Grabbing her towel and her shower bag out of her backpack, AJ was about to strip off when Paige entered the changing room. She looked at AJ apologetically. I'm sorry they made you drop the title to me, Paige began. It's okay. I know it isn't your fault. I'm just mad that those idiots seem determined to do things the wrong way round. If they had you feud with me for a while, then it would have been okay. But no, that would be too easy. They'd rather fuck it up. Paige seemed to pause and think before she continued to talk. Say, you fancy going for a beer or something? We're not needed for SmackDown tomorrow. AJ shrugged and smiled. Okay, but I'm going to shower first. AJ hesitated for a moment before she mentally shook herself and continued to take her wrestling attire off. It wasn't like her and Paige had anything neither of them hadn't seen before. Glancing over her shoulder, she noticed Paige appeared not to be taking too much notice of her, as she was getting stripped off for her own shower. AJ suddenly realized she was staring a bit too long, but Paige looked gorgeous. She had breasts that were beautifully pert and full. Her butt was cute too. AJ scuttled off to the shower quickly before Paige had the chance to notice she was being checked out. As AJ disappeared, Paige finally found herself able to breathe again. She knew AJ had been staring at her naked body. Paige had pretended not to notice. She had stolen a glance at AJ as she had gone into the showers. Paige had to admit that AJ looked hot without her clothes. Not that she wasn't attractive anyway, with naked, she looked even better. Stepping into the showers, Paige was relieved that AJ seemed more interested in her shower than her. Paige was completely lost in her own thoughts when she felt a pair of hands snake around her and up her body towards her breast. AJ's hands cupped them, and she began to grope them as she kissed Paige's neck. Paige gasped in shock, but then whimpered as her nipples became painfully hard under AJ's caress. She placed her hands on the shower wall as she closed her eyes and pressed her back into AJ's body. Sliding a hand downwards, AJ placed her hand between Paige's legs and began playing with her clit. Despite the shower water, she could feel that Paige was wet. Pulling Paige's hips toward her in order to have her bent over, AJ moved the other hand behind Paige and eased a finger inside of Paige as she continued to play with her clit. Her pussy felt so tight. AJ pushed another finger inside the other woman and continued to finger her. Paige squirmed and moaned. It felt so good, and Paige knew it wouldn't take long for her to come. AJ smiled as she felt Paige tightening around her fingers, and she held her as Paige shook as she orgasmed. When she had finished and got her senses back, Paige turned around and locked AJ in a steamy kiss. They were completely unaware the shower water still running around them. They kissed and touched each other, enjoying the feel of each other's bodies. Slowly guiding AJ towards the opposite wall, Paige placed her hand between AJ's legs in order to return the favor of the fingering. Using her thumb to stimulate her clit, AJ eased 2 fingers inside AJ's very wet and willing pussy. AJ bucked her hips as Paige moved her fingers in and out of her. Paige continued to kiss her, and AJ moaned into her mouth. Paige pushed a 3rd finger into AJ. Oh God! Fuck yes! AJ moaned as the 3rd finger went inside of her. She moved her legs further apart. Make me come! Paige's lips met one of AJ's nipples, and she began to suck on it and lick it and tease it with her tongue. Her fingers still easing in and out of her pussy. Paige's thumb still teasing her clit. AJ's moans became louder. Paige moved away from the nipple she had been sucking on. It was erect. Paige moved to the other and sucked it into hardness also, as her hand continued to play with the nipple she had just left. I'm coming! Fuck! I'm coming! AJ cried out. She wailed loudly, her wetness dripping down Paige's hand and down her thighs as she came. They held each other and kissed for a while. How about we forget the drink and go back to my hotel room? AJ suggested. She had a dildo back at her hotel room, and she wanted to use it. She wanted Paige to be the one pushing it inside of her, using those wonderful fingers on her clit. The 2 women spent that night together. Paige brought AJ to orgasm again and again with the dildo, her fingers, and her tongue. The girl certainly knows how to please a woman. AJ later thought that night when they had finished having sex and Paige had fallen asleep. AJ had always assumed Paige was straight. She, like others, had heard rumors Paige had supposedly had a relationship with Dean Ambrose during his NXT days. AJ looked over at Paige. She looked pretty as she slept. AJ lay awake for the longest time, wondering what this meant for the 2 of them. Was this just a one-time thing, or did they have a future together? Waking the following morning, AJ found the bed empty. Maybe Paige had got cold feet and left while she was asleep. AJ felt a little disappointed, but then she heard the toilet flush in the en-suite bathroom. Moments later, she heard the water from the tap running. When the tap went off, Paige came back into the room. She was still naked.
Hello, ladies.
Seeing AJ was awake, Paige smiled awkwardly. Sitting on the bed, Paige asked, "So what now?" AJ shrugged. "It's up to you. Do you want us to be a couple?" Paige nodded slowly. "I would like that." Aww. Chapter 2. For a while, the 2 women kept their new relationship quiet. They weren't sure how people would accept their relationship. Plus, they weren't sure how long it would last between them. They wanted to take it one day at a time. Plus, there was AJ's boyfriend, CM Punk, to consider. AJ felt bad for seeing someone behind Punk's back. It was going to be a difficult conversation, whichever way she did it. Even more so now that they had been talking about getting engaged and possibly having children. Maybe she just wasn't ready for all of this. Maybe she wasn't even straight. The first day AJ had off after her night with Paige was the worst. The guilt was hanging over her head. Punk seemed oblivious to it and just assumed her low mood was due to tiredness. AJ just smiled and agreed. Slinking off to the bedroom, AJ dropped her bags to the floor, stripped off, and jumped into the shower. When she was finished, AJ wrapped a towel around herself and went downstairs. That's when all hell kicked off. AJ had left her mobile phone unlocked downstairs while she was in the shower, for reasons unknown to her. Punk had felt the need to look at her phone and had seen the explicit messages between her and Paige. Why? Why would you do this to me? I thought we were happy. We were going to get married. Punk looked hurt rather than angry. AJ dropped her eyes and sighed. She had hoped to have this conversation in a better way than this. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to find out like this. But I don't understand. AJ sat him down and they talked. She had admitted that she wasn't sure herself what had prompted her to have sex with Paige. But it had happened and there was no point in trying to deny it. AJ also told Punk it was nothing he had done directly that had caused her to do it. It was all down to her. Is there any way we can fix a relationship? Punk asked. If it's the whole marriage and babies thing, I can back off if that's what you want. They eventually agreed to have a break in their relationship, to reevaluate whether it was worth staying together. Punk agreed to letting AJ stay at the house they shared. Despite what had happened, he didn't want to kick her out. Yes, she had cheated on him, but at least she had come clean about it in the end. Later that night, when Punk had gone to bed, AJ phoned Paige and told her what happened. At least he know now, and we can figure out what to do, Paige agreed. I want to be with you. I know that much. AJ had finally put some clothes on by this point. She was wearing a vest top and a pair of knickers. Hearing Paige's voice and remembering what they had done was making her horny. She slid her hand into her knickers and began fingering herself, opening her legs to allow better access. She was soaking wet. Finishing her call with the other woman, AJ continued to masturbate. She pulled her vest up and fondled her tits. It was no good. AJ knew she needed something more. Going upstairs, she entered the bedroom. Punk looked like he was asleep, but it was difficult to tell. Slipping under the sheets, AJ was pleased to find him sleeping naked. Taking hold of his flaccid penis, AJ began stroking it into hardness. She then proceeded to give him a blowjob. Punk stirred and woke, slightly confused as to what was going on at first. Once his brain caught up with his body, he groaned as AJ continued to suck him off. Lying on his back, Punk ran his hands through her hair and made her take him deeper into her mouth, thrusting his hips upwards to meet her strokes with her mouth. Eventually releasing his now very hard cock, AJ crawled up his body and kissed him. Punk rolled her over onto her back. She slipped his hand into her knickers and continued the fingering he didn't know AJ had started on herself. She was so wet. He pushed one finger, then two, into her. AJ moaned and bucked her hips as she continued the fingering.
Ooh.
Yanking up her vest, Punk took her nipple into his mouth and began to suck and bite on it. When it was erect, he moved to the other. Getting up onto his knees, Punk pulled AJ's knickers off as she removed her vest top, pulling her legs apart. Punk thrust into her and began to fuck her. God! You're so damn tight, he grunted as he thrust it slowly into her. AJ grabbed his ass and opened her legs further, trying to take him deeper into her. He was so incredibly girthy that he stretched her open. Each thrust brought her closer to orgasm. As she began to come, she moaned his name. Her tightening pussy brought Punk to orgasm. He thrust the last few times and came, filling her with cum. Once they had rested, they had sex again, only this time Punk took AJ in the ass. She was even tighter there than her pussy was. Getting her upon all fours, Punk got the lube and prepared her before lubing his growing erection. Taking hold of her hips, he pushed the head of his penis into her anus. AJ instantly relaxed and easily took him as she continued to push into her ass. He came quickly, then rolled AJ onto her back and licked her out. When they had finished their sex session, Punk fell asleep first. AJ watching him for a bit before drifting off to sleep herself, wondering what the hell she was going to do. In the weeks that followed, when people asked why AJ and CM Punk had put their marriage on hold and were living separate lives despite still living together, the two of them kept very quiet about it. They merely stated that it was private and they didn't wish to discuss it publicly. Despite his own feelings, Punk decided to allow AJ to do what she needed to do. If that meant her being with another woman, then so be it. Yes, he felt sad that it obviously hadn't worked out between them, but she was happy again. They continued to live together as friends. Paige felt a little guilty that she had effectively stolen AJ from Punk, but the two of them had spoken to each other, and he had said that he didn't blame her for what happened. He admitted that he felt at least some of the blame was his. He had been so preoccupied with the wedding that he had probably, unintentionally, pushed AJ away as a result. AJ's colleagues and friends backstage in the company were sympathetic towards her. It was such a shame things hadn't worked out, and wasn't she lucky to have Paige as a loyal friend to be a shoulder to cry on? The two women didn't bother to correct people, and made it easier to keep their relationship under wraps for the time being. They carpooled together and shared hotel rooms. They regularly had sex.
Oh, yeah.
AJ was sure she had sex, more now, that she was with Paige than she had done with Punk. She discovered things that she hadn't realized existed. It was liberating and fun. It certainly made things interesting when their in-ring characters started feuding over the Divas title. Fans could comment on how well the two women worked so well together, how their friendship made their feud more convincing, if only they knew. Paige wished they were able to come out to the world. She was happy and wanted to tell the world that they were dating. AJ was more reluctant. After splitting up with Punk, AJ knew that if it came out that she had left him for another woman, it wouldn't go down so well. She didn't want Punk going through any more hell. Despite what had happened, she still cared about him and his feelings. The last thing she wanted was for him to look stupid for losing his fiancée to another woman. "We will go public one day, I promise," AJ said one night as they lay in bed. "But just not now. It's too soon. I don't want Phil hurt any more than he already has been. He deserves that at least." Paige pouted slightly, but let the subject drop. AJ was right as she always was. "You promise?" AJ nodded and smiled. She leaned in and gave the other woman a kiss. Paige willingly returned the kiss. She then started kissing her way down AJ's neck, down her body, and positioned herself between AJ's legs. AJ moaned and arched her back, opening her legs further to allow Paige more room. The woman knew how to use her tongue. Paige couldn't help but smile to herself. AJ was so wet and horny for her. AJ was starting to thrust her hips. She was getting close to coming. Her body shook as AJ came. Chapter 3. The two women didn't expect the relationship to hit any more hitches than it already had. AJ's friend Caitlyn was to be coming back to the WWE, as she had been offered a contract she couldn't refuse.
Keep reaching.
AJ was extremely excited as she hadn't seen her friend for a while. Paige, on the other hand, couldn't help but feel a tiny bit jealous when she heard the news. Why she felt jealous, Paige couldn't explain. Maybe it was because the two women had a history as friends, whereas Paige and AJ didn't really have much at all in any capacity. The jealousy felt like it was getting worse when Caitlyn came back. The day she arrived at the arena, AJ squealed and ran up to her friend and gave her the biggest hug. Paige felt awkward around her, but made the effort to smile and be nice. Caitlyn was AJ's best friend after all, and Paige didn't want to cause a scene. It was to be Caitlyn who would find out what was really going on between the two women. It was a couple of weeks into her return when it happened. Caitlyn and AJ had been involved in a match earlier that evening, which had resulted in AJ taking a rather nasty hit to the face. Stitches had been needed, and now Caitlyn felt really terrible for smacking her best friend in the face. Finding out that AJ had been seen headed towards the parking lot area, Caitlyn had gone in search of her, hoping she hadn't already left the building. Making her way through the backstage area, she had heard something that had made her stop and listen. Caitlyn wasn't 100% sure why she had stopped at first. Maybe it had been because one of the voices sounded a little like AJ's. The more she listened, the more Caitlyn began to realize she had probably walked in on something she hadn't wanted to, but she couldn't walk away. It was obvious that AJ and whoever she was with weren't aware that they could be heard, and they wouldn't even know if Caitlyn just walked away and pretended she hadn't heard anything. Creeping slowly towards where she could hear the voices, Caitlyn kept out of sight and eventually discovered her friend. But she wasn't prepared to see AJ with her tongue halfway down Paige's throat, with her hands up the other woman's t-shirt, blatantly groping her. Pushing AJ up against the wall, Paige undid her denim shorts and pulled them down to the floor, revealing AJ's knickers. These soon joined the shorts on the floor. AJ leaned her head back and moaned as Paige positioned herself between AJ's legs and began licking her out. Caitlyn wanted to leave immediately, but watching her best friend receive oral sex from another woman was a massive turn on. Caitlyn bit her lower lip as she felt herself getting wet. AJ was muttering something along the lines of, "Take your knickers off. I want to taste you too." Paige stayed, kneeling on the floor, and removed her garments so that she was also naked from the waist down. In moments, AJ and Paige were in a 69 position, with AJ on top. Caitlyn couldn't help herself. Undoing her jeans, she slid a hand inside her knickers. She was so wet with her fingers eased inside her pussy easily. It was difficult to keep quiet, watching the two women get each other off as she fingered herself. She stifled a cry as she orgasmed. Terrified that she might get found or be overheard, Caitlyn left the area and jumped into her car. The sooner she could hide in her hotel room, the better. AJ noticed that her friend had started to act strange with her after that. At first, Caitlyn was reluctant to say anything, worried that AJ would take it the wrong way. Caitlyn didn't want her to think that she was accusing her of having cheated on Punk. It took time, but eventually AJ managed to get at least some of the truth out of her. Caitlyn felt a little embarrassed when she admitted she had seen the two of them together a few nights earlier at the arena. AJ, on the other hand, found it funny, but was sympathetic towards her friend. "I should have warned you sooner," AJ admitted. "But it's not something you easily bring up in conversation." "Hi. Yeah? I'm not with my fiancé anymore. I'm with the woman." Caitlyn smiled sheepishly, not telling her that she had watched them together and had got off on it. For a while, Caitlyn forced herself to focus on work and put the incident out of her mind. Just because she had enjoyed watching didn't mean she was gay in any way. She had a boyfriend after all who made her happy. But at the same time, there was that little part of her that began to wonder, to question if she was actually being honest with herself about her sexuality. Why had seeing AJ with Paige affected her so much? Surely, if she felt secure in her sexuality, she wouldn't be questioning herself. Maybe she ought to talk to her boyfriend about making things more interesting in the the bedroom. There was that little part of her that always had been a little bit envious of the stories she had heard about Kelly Hart, one of the company's trainers at the Florida training facility. Apparently, according to rumor, she had an open marriage with Dwayne Johnson and had Roman Reigns as her submissive, as well as a small handful of regular lovers. Perhaps that was what Caitlin's own relationship needed. Some excitement in the bedroom. Everything else about her relationship was great. Caitlin never expected the motivation she would need was going to be seeing her friend having sex with the last person she expected it to be with, but at the same time, she was glad. The end. Thank you for listening to episode 10 of Wrestle Erotica. We hope that you enjoyed the 2 stories that we shared with you today. As always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to review us on iTunes. Also, be sure to check us out on Stitcher, Player.fm, and our official website, WrestleEroticapod.com. Thank you and have a good week.